All right, a little bit of an update here. I'm doing electrolysis phase 2. Maybe it's phase 3, phase 4. I don't know. I've kind of lost track. Oh gosh. Anyway, what happens here is there's a lot of bubbles coming out of there, and it actually, look, there's so many bubbles that come out of this tank. It actually puts the water level, look how high I can move it because this tank is full. So every once in a while you got to do that and burp it to get the water level back down, or else it'll overflow this thing here. And of course that's probably a lot of hydrogen in there, so don't go smoking around there. So while I was letting that cook, I decided to take off the exhaust system. And the reason I decided to take it off from the back forwards was because somebody on the Alpha bulletin boards advised it. So this was pretty easy to get to. Just 3 bolts. They weren't frozen. There's a hanger over there. There's some damage I got to fix at the end of that from somebody scraping it against the curb. And then what I did was I left one of the exhaust manifolds, a 2-3 manifold on, and because it was loose and I got the hole, there's also another bracket right up here with a bolt and double nut. Of course there's the other bracket over here which I took off quite a while ago. But anyway, I could probably twist this and get the whole thing out. But the reason I wanted to do this is to be able to get to these nuts. It is a pain in the neck, and I figure, hey, I'm going to take the whole thing off anyway. I'm probably going to do a restoration of this. Since I got it off, I'll probably sandblast it and repaint it. I figure, what the heck. The headers I'm going to leave raw, quote unquote. But these I'm going to repaint silver with exhaust paint. That should look kind of nice. Alright, so I got to get to those bolts over there and take that off. And I can't believe the weather. It's so nice out. It's like 55 degrees, so that's why I'm working with the garage open. No heat on. No heat's been on for the last couple of days. Look at the condition of some of these bolts. This is on the exhaust hanger. This is like new. That's unbelievable. All right, check you out later. All right, well, we have a major breakthrough on the speak-up pump. Look at this. I got it spinning perfectly. Let me tell you what happened. I was on the phone with somebody discussing sending it back, sending it to him to have it repaired, and something came over me. I said, you know, let's try to use the magic tool to every workshop, the good old blow dryer. So what I did was I started blow drying and aiming the heat in here, and alternatively aiming the heat in here, figuring what I had done is I filled it with MEK, and then I also filled it with lacquer thinner. That was my last try. You know, I've got every solvent known to mankind. I've got MEK, I've got lacquer thinner. Well, anyway, I heated up the lacquer thinner, and the only thing I could do is go like this. And then all of a sudden, after about doing this for 2 or 3 minutes, the darn thing started giving away a little bit. And I said, holy cow, I think I'm onto something. So sure enough, it started breaking free, and now it's arguably pumping like a champ. This is really a fascinating piece of equipment. Well, anyway, this is major success. Now all I got to do is get the gas tank. And I'm going to do an update on that in a little while. I'm going to pull the anode again. Put, I think, a different anode in there. But anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. All right, well, we're going to prepare the speaker pump for going out to get bench checked. I'm going to send it out to Larry Jr. out in California, and I think it'll be small enough to fit in a flat rate box medium, large maybe even perhaps. So I put these back in. I'm taking off these 6mm, 10mm head bolts so I can take this bracket off, and then I think it'll be ready to go. I also have to drain the oil a little bit better. This thing has to be in a pretty sealed container, because if there's any sign of oil coming out of a box going to the post office, they'll send it back and refuse it, or they'll refuse to ship it. All right. All right, a little bit of a follow-up. What I'm doing now, because I've got all the components removed from the engine, this is probably as much of the engine that I'm going to take apart. Water pump, I'm not so sure about. But what I figured I'd start doing is to start removing this corrosion, and especially down here, I've been starting to clean this up. There's some kind of, I think, acid spillage that got onto the paint, and you know, it blistered the paint, and in some cases went right through the paint and primer, in some cases not. By the way, the primer on this car is black, and you can see remnants of it there. But what I'm doing right now is using MEK to dissolve this, for lack of a better word, corrosion. And what I'm going to try to do is get down to a level surface that can be painted. I'm going to use a bunch of abrasive wheels that I got from my Dremel. And you could see the extent of this. Of course, you know, it's on the battery box. This is going to not be that difficult. It's up over here. That's rust through also over there. You know, I'm trying to, as I've been doing this, I've been trying to think of a strategy to actually paint this. I ordered some paint, more on that later, in a spray can form that I'm going to try to use. This over here on the hood, I think this battery like semi-exploded or something, which is really a shame. But you've also got this on the hood. I'm going to have to, you know, that I'm going to be very thoughtful with. I think I'm going to spot touch that in. There's also some very small spots there. Anyway, I'm also going to paint the top of the steering box. As you can see, I've been using my magic solution of WD-40 and kerosene as a degreaser, and then I start going in with the heavier chemicals. But what I do is I just leave the WD-40 and kerosene to soak for a while on the parts, and it loosens up the grime, which over here was very substantial. And it was very substantial, but after a while it actually reduces it down so it can be removed fairly easily. And all I've been using is basically little paint brushes. These are my magic tools over here. Paint brushes, toothbrushes, sometimes a wire brush for heavy duty. So, and again, so the reason is I want to get to painting this before I start putting stuff back in the car. My parts are all on back order. I'm not going to be getting them probably for another 2 weeks or so. So right now, with the fuel injection pump being out, I'm left to doing some of this finishing work and a couple other really restoration work with repainting, some very minor repainting. I'm going to be doing I removed the exhaust system. I'm going to be doing some of that probably later, though. That's probably not a highest priority now, although what I have been doing is testing whether certain finishes are going to work or look right on the car. So more on that later. All right, now I'm going to talk about a little sub-project of mine. There was some damage at the end of this tailpipe. And what happened was the former owner a couple of times hit the bottom of the tailpipe against the pavement or whatever, and this lip got rolled up somewhat all around, well, pretty much around the tip over here. So I was trying to think of what to do with it. I was actually going to cut it off, but you know, if you look at the profile, the profile would not have been great. And as you can also see, there was a lot of rust in this area. I'm not getting a good focus. There you go. There was a lot of rust in that area. So what I did was I used my trusty old hammer that I think is the old body hammer. It's got 2 curved ends on it. And I bashed out this to get it back to the correct profile. And then I filed it a little bit just to get it a little smooth. So what I decided to do was to use this rust cover paint. This is like POR 15. This stuff, like I said, it's just like POR 15, but this stuff, it'll encapsulate rust. And I used it on my lawnmower. I have a big lawnmower, and it was the deck was rusting, and I decided after a couple of years of watching the thing disintegrate, I used this rust cover paint. It's basically epoxy based, and it will encapsulate rust. So what I did is I just painted it on here, gave a little thin coating on here, and that gave me a solid base. Now what I'm going to do is mix up some JB Weld, and I'm going to slather the JB Weld on here and then file it down to a profile, and then I'm going to paint it with chrome paint and see how it looks. It'll probably be good enough. This tailpipe is in really good condition, and I didn't have the heart to cut it off, and I don't think welding this would have, I think the weld would have probably punched through over here. I've had projects like that, and I don't think that was going to suffice, that would have worked. So I've got to work on this and slather this up, and then I'm gonna file it down, profile it out, and then I'm gonna paint it and call it a day. I think it'll look okay, but we'll check back with this later.